We've introduced ourselves. Now we'd like to know who y'all are. So everybody just quickly, if y'all can just stand up one by one, introduce yourselves and tell us something about your name. If there's a story behind your name, or what your name means at least. Short, sweet, if you can make it funny, perfect. Just think about
one interesting thing that nobody in this room would probably know about you. It should not be, I come from this college, I studied here, I'm doing this.
Preferably about your name itself, a story about your name. Please.
I am Sayyid Naziruddin. Sayyid means the leader. Nazir means example. Example of the deen, the religion. Example of the religion, which is I am exactly opposite. Sometimes the parents keep a name, the son's name will be Charaguddin. He must have born in a hut without light. So that's a different thing. My story goes, this name doesn't have anything to do. Even if I have 1 by 3, if my name was 1 by 3, I still remain the same. Because it is your identity which you prove by yourself to the world. If I want to prove myself, I don't need the Baudelaire's Jean-Paul Sartre's existentialism or Baudelaire's stories to prove myself. I am there to prove myself. I am here. I am 1 by 3.
Very good.
I am Joy, and probably I am joyful at birth and thereafter.
I'm Rajiv, and thing is, my name has nothing to do with the erstwhile Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. I was only named because one of my brothers who named me was Sanjeev, and he thought that it might be nice to have, similar spelling names.
Poetical fact.
My name is Quizem Brogan. I think it comes, my father gave the name. My father was a historian. He's a historian, and Brogan was the first name, B-R-O-G-A-N. That was, I think, a French warrior that he admired a lot, and he put that name on me. But later on, I changed it to Brogan, G-E-N. I don't know how, but somehow it changed that way. But so far in my life, I have never got correct name in my certificate, including my MD certificate from AIMS. It's always Brogan. So now I prefer to call myself as Broken, so that people remember it more vividly.
I'm Kavita. My elder sister is Kalpana, means imagination. So Kavita is poetry. So poetry comes after imagination. Maybe that's why.
I'm Ram. Ram comes from the Sanskrit root Ramyatiti, Rama, one who pleases others' minds. Nothing to do with the God form.
I'm Varna. It is a character from Rabindranath Tagore. Actually, the whole name of mine was also Utpal Varna. When I was born, I was very fair, very fair. My parents were so happy, so they kept this name Utpal Varna. I started going to school, but the reverse picture started on. So my mother erased the name Utpal, and only Varna is there.
Clap, he gave you so much excess in clapping.
I'm Swarna Lakshmi, and generally close friends and general friends call me Swarna. I'm been named after my father's grandmother. Her name was Swarnam, so they added one Lakshmi. So Swarna Lakshmi, which is the goddess of gold, but I don't like wearing that much of gold jewelry. So very minimal gold jewelry only, but still my name goes as Swarna.
I'm Neeta now, but my earlier name was Madhurima, which was too long, and I thought that I should have a shorter name. So Neeta came as a shorter name, and that's how it is. But my friends always tease me either at Niti or Neta, because rules and regulations is something I think we are all bound by. So something of that kind. But now I think Niti is also related to ethics, so that really, I do not know what it means here.
My name is Bini, and I don't think my parents thought about a meaning when they kept the name, because in Kerala, and particularly among the Christians, they keep the mother-in-law's name in the church, and they have a pet name to call Bini, Mini, or whatever those kind of names. So I never thought that was important until I was in my graduation. One of my vivas, one of the teachers, they did not ask any. We were two of us. One was Arunima, she was a Bengali, and I was there. And our teacher, she did not ask anything about the subject. She only asked, what is the meaning of your names? And Arunima had a meaning. I was thinking, what was the meaning? It was not important for me till then, but then I thought maybe we should have a meaning. Then I discussed it at home. I forgot about it. And then recently, my brother called me up, and he said he was going through the net and all. And it's very interesting that Bini means a community of agricultural people in some European country. Okay. And it is interesting all the more because I've done my PhD in agricultural science, genetics and plant breeding. So I don't know how how and how it is related. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, my name is Abu Bakr. And Abu Bakr is the Khalifa of Prophet Muhammad. My father's name is Abu Bakr. My grandfather is Abu Bakr. Now, why I was given Abu Bakr is that my grandfather said, why don't you give him Abu Bakr? And I'm not the first son. I am the fifth. He said, why don't you give this one Abu Bakr? So that when he grow up, he become like you. He said, but I am not like you. You are a businessman. I'm a diplomat. So what do you think this one will become? A diplomat? And I'm not a diplomat. You see? So that's how my name came about.
My name is Neeru. Neeru, till the last 8 years, I did not know any meaning of my name. Though in Hindi, people really, they usually relate it to Neer as water. When I reached to Mangalore, which is where I did my graduation, then there I met somebody who discovered the meaning of my name, and he told me that Neeru, as it is, this name comes from the language Pali, which means lotus, and all qualities of lotus is reflected by the same name, as in transparency, purity, courage. This is how.
Nandini, actually, in the Indian mythology, is a celestial cow. And my father was a Sanskrit scholar. And this cow actually was giving milk incessantly. So that the god-like people, I mean, you had Rakshasas, demon-like people and the god-like people, there was a fight going on. So for the incessant supply of milk, Nandini was born. And that's how, and then he liked the name also, because in Bengali as well as in, I'm Malayali, so among Malayalis it was a rarer thing, but he actually, he had, he wanted to do MA French, which was at that time in Calcutta, because he missed out on some other thing. He's born in Mauritius, he came to India, Lahore actually, to continue his higher studies, and then wanted to do this MA French, and that was at that time in Calcutta. And Nandini was very common at that time, even now in Bengal. So that's how the name came. But I think probably that incessant supply is probably in my life, I have always tried to give as much as possible.
I'm told that I was supposed to be named Premalata. But then they decided we didn't want Premalata or Snehalata or anything like that. So I became Hemalata. And I think Hema means gold, if I'm not mistaken, and Lata is a plant. But my friends call me Lata. And because of my Russian connection, I'm also called Latush.
I'm Chanda. The name was actually given by my uncle, who was a cinematographer in Pune, and he wanted something very out of the blue and something very unique. I think those days he might not have thought about the meaning or anything. I don't know how it came up. But then ultimately he said it is unique because Chanda is the only moon, the only moon you can think about. So, but however, I came to know subsequently there are ever so many Chandas in the country. I think I head towards the first part of the attendance register, because I fall within the C group, So I'm quite happy about it. I don't have to wait till the end for the Viva.
Okay, I'm Shalini. When I was born, I was a little fat and chubby child, always sleeping, not bothering my mother. I was the second child. And my grandfather actually called me Bholi. Means, you don't, you don't disturb anybody and like that. So when I grew up, I joined school. That's the time my mother named me Shalini, means modest.
My name is Vadiraj. It's a saint name, actually. So I should respect that. See to that because of my name, it should not create a bad impression to those persons who have contributed a lot. So I see to that I don't do that.
I have two names according to the Indian tradition in our family. One, what is given at the base of the time that you are born, and one which is what we call as the name which is routinely used. The one that is routinely used is Pratima, indicating an image, which probably my parents thought I should carry on. And the original name is Geeta, because my father believed doing karma and not thinking of the results is the object of life.
We were 10 and I was 7, among the girls 4. And my name, the first letter based on the star, but I don't think my parents would have taken the trouble of naming after something as somebody. But my name has the meaning, Tilakavati means Tilak, and Hindu mythology, it's a follower of Lord Shiva.
I'm Jay Krishnan. My mom's name is Vijaya and my father's name is Balakrishnan. So combining the two names, they have put Jay Krishnan.
Okay. My name is Abdul Mahbud Khan. Khan is a title. Mahbud means to whom we can worship. If you put the Abdul prefix, it becomes worshipper, worshipper of God. And the name was given by one Sufi saint to me. My father told me. I often ask because Mahbub is very common. Mahbub is not common. I've been asked one my assessment at ICM headquarters by Professor R.C. Mahajan, what is your name meaning? Then I told, this is all about my name. Thank you.
In my tradition, they name children after people who have who've died, who've moved on. And so how they do it when I was born, when the child is crying, they keep on trying one name after the other until the child keeps quiet. So for me, when they called Anakalo, I kept quiet. And so that, that was my name.
My name is Nabil. Nabil comes from the word noble, I was told. I don't know. And that's the meaning they give to me.
My name is Chandrasekhar. That is, according to my birth star, Ashwini Nakshatra, they kept the name. Chandrasekhar means the god Lord Shiva, who wear the Chandra as in his one of his ornament. That's why my name was kept as Chandrasekhar. It's related to the Lord Shiva.
My name is Subhash Chandra Dutt. My name was given in memory of Subhash Chandra Bose.
My name is Fazil. One common meaning of my name is useless thing. So I stand for my name and my name is stand for me.
I'm Pradeep Kumar. My father was an Ayurvedic physician. He was also a fan of Hindi films. Pradeep Kumar was a famous actor at that time. Even that doesn't represent me.
Hi, my name is Aisha. It means happy, prosperous, and smiling. It's also the name of the Prophet, Muhammad. It's a holy, it's got a prophet's wife. Yeah, it's got kind of a holy line to it. I'm not that holy, nor holier than thou. I try to live life in full measure. And I think my name was referred earlier on in the class. And I do like junk food, but I also like to live healthy. Thank you.
Okay, the story behind my name. My dad's a doctor, so my mom, and I'm the eldest in the family, so my mom wanted, she hoped that automatically I would follow in my dad's footsteps, so she named me after the, in Hindu mythology, the Ashwins, the twin, the doctors to the gods. And around 6th standard, when she realized that I have absolutely no interest in studies, but I was very good in sports, she changed the W from my name and she made it V, which is after the Ashvamedha, or the Prince of Horses. So yeah, there you go.
All his brothers are with an A. So they have this tradition, which earlier I think Malayali families, they mentioned about the choice of names. I suspect that my name was chosen because my elder sister's name was Anita, so they have this matching thing. So if you have an Anita in the family, the boy has to be called Anil if he's born after that. Anil means, has two meanings. If you say it as Anil, it means a gust of soothing breeze or wind. And if you say Anil, it can mean a squirrel. So two meanings to the word. When I had a brief stint in the US in Stanford, they conveniently changed my name because like Swami Kannan will become Sam Can or something like that. So my name was conveniently Neil for that entire 2 years of my life, they shortened my name, but I'm very glad to have my name back, and it's Anil Abraham. And as Dr. Chanda said, I'm very happy to be in the first few among the register. Always it helps in a medical college to be called early for the Viva before the examiners get tired.
Okay, does anybody know, what do you feel from this exercise? Did you get anything from this exercise? What did it feel like to hear a personal story? Do you find out something about yourselves as well when you were telling the story? There were a lot of y'all who mentioned that y'all never thought of the name of your story unless it was brought up. Did anyone realize anything about themselves?
One thing I think which you raised is very important. It's so much easier to remember a name if you've associated it, in addition to just a name that you hear, if you've associated with a story or with a person. Once that personal touch comes in, I think it's much easier when you go out for lunch when you see somebody, you can actually remember the name properly.
How would this help in a work situation for y'all with the patient, or because they're telling you something very personal, and it depends on how you listen that you actually make them feel that you're listening and you make them feel comfortable. And would you share something like that to make them feel comfortable? Would you? Is that a norm?
For us also, and in work situations when we're dealing with, like, we often tell the fresh interns and PGs to stop referring to bed number 13 with psoriasis and things like that, because the minute you personalize it, the person has a name and you're remembering it as the elderly gentleman Ahmed in that bed whose wife is also ill and needs to be discharged as quickly as possible because he has financial trouble. Once all that has been built into the story, and on rounds when you're dealing with the treatment methods, when you're choosing drugs, you're not choosing expensive biologicals in that person's treatment and things like that, because he is a person, he is not bed number 13 anymore.
Okay. So the example of it is you take from all the books, right from Skanda Puranam to Quran, including Bible. When God, or whatever you believe, when He speaks to the mankind, He talks to them stories first, some epic there. Then the lesson parts of it comes that you have to do, the moral thing. So all there in the story, what human beings are doing, that's what I say, that we are the manifestation of God. So we are God on this earth, so we have to settle our stories, set our example, do our job.
Comfortable? Have you left out anyone? Everyone's done?
Okay, we're going to take the same idea a bit further. We're going to start off, this is called a story thread. One person starts a story, a setting, and then we just keep passing it on. You continue that story. Okay? So by the end of this is going to be like a tug of war. Like thing. It's going to be a group effort where at the end of it, we have a complete story, and each of y'all would have contributed only bits. I'll start, and I'll pass it on to Anil, so y'all know how this is done. It was a rainy day, and most of the people I saw that morning seemed very sleepy.
So I decided to stay back at home and sleep.
And there came a little wet swallow, which perched on the window, and the child from the neighbor's house rushed out to catch a few raindrops and have a look at the swallow.
I saw that the child is going to fall because the floor was very floor was very slippery. Immediately I rushed out, and even being I was drenched in the rain, I caught that child and took the child inside. The child's mother was very happy, and
as it was raining, I thought I should get the umbrella or the raincoat, so I started searching for it.
I saw the child was in the rain, so I decided to make a paper boat for him, just to enjoy the rain.
And then his mother offered me a cup of tea, and in between I used to enjoy with him, with the boy, by playing A, B, C, D.
I would like to continue the same, but I had a workshop which is a must to attend. I had to rush to the workshop. That's why, because I can't take the leave also because it's a must and should. I had followed my duty to continue the workshop.
Unfortunately, when I reached the workshop, I was a little late. I was expected to give a presentation, so I felt so awkward coming in late.
Since I was late, I kept quiet.
After some time, I started sleeping. Then somebody started noticing. Then suddenly I woke up. Then I found my neighbor also sleeping. Then I also woke him up.
Suddenly my phone rang. It's a call from my hospital. He said that I know you are in a workshop, but you have to come to the hospital today. Stop.
Since Navil has gone to the hospital, I was worried about what is happening. Why is he so serious? There might be something wrong. It's okay.
No, I started thinking that why it is when it is raining is so pleasant and so beautiful. I said the boy is coming out. Somebody said the mother is coming out. Naturally, the mother will be beautiful. And then I said, why waste all this time in workshop? Let's not go. Why don't we get out and drench ourselves in the rain and enjoy the nature? I went out.
I was enjoying the nature, but then I got shaken out of my reverie because my cell phone rang and I had emergency call to my hospital. I had to take a cab. I looked for one, there was none. I tried to stop a few of the passing cars. One of them luckily stopped and took me up, and I was on my way to the hospital.
And meanwhile, I saw him going out there, and I was thinking how painful or how difficult for him to go in this rain to attend a patient, and how much responsibility he is having on his shoulders. And I was not listening to the workshop presentations.
After reaching the hospital, so I went to the department and wanted to find out from the secretary or whoever it may be responsible for the patient, and I wanted to proceed with dealing with the patient because it was an urgent call.
And when I looked out of the window, the rain had stopped.
Once I was done at the hospital, I returned home and took the child out to a brook and started learning from the child how it's possible to be happy and all that, appreciate.
And I think it's evening time for a cup of tea. I sat down with the biscuits and tea and newspaper to read in the evening.
It rained so much cats and dogs, but my maid, she turned to my house to work with fully drenched and all. So first thing what I asked her, I just gave her my old clothes to change that and then have a cup of tea and start working.
And as the maid was working and she was also in clean and comfortable clothes, I knew that the work would get done, so I thought of relaxing. So I made myself another cup of tea, looked out of the window, saw the rainbow. I was enjoying the rainbow, and I decided that whole of next week I'll wear dresses of the rainbow colors from Monday to Saturday.
So I just switched on the TV and found all the Kannada channels coming on it. And so I went to my maid and said, why don't you make some pakoras and enjoy the weather?
So I put on the music and enjoyed the old Hindi songs.
Just opened the window and started enjoying with a cup of coffee and trying to compare the children's playing on the ground and the other people's trying very difficult to come out of the house.
With all the rain that I had received while coming back, I was shivering. I preferred to have a nice warm clothes on. With Mills and Bones, I relaxed in my room.
I went on reading, then fell asleep. Then I thought that, okay, let me sleep for an hour or two, and then I'll get up to think what next to do.
I saw from the window the child coming through, which Pradeep was trying to prevent the fall and all that. But I was in that guest house in connection with the workshop, and I was missing home and my husband who was away. And I was thinking of that romantic song, and that was on at that time. I started humming with that, and I started singing. Oh, Sajna, Barkha Bahar aaye, ras ki fuwar laaye, आँखियों में प्यार लाए हो सजना.
Well, I felt asleep, but before I actually, got knocked down, I was just thinking of people who were on the streets and had no shelter. And while coming back from the hospital, I also observed that there are too many of these deers who have been, put behind the cage. I thought that I must go next day and talk to the principal to have some sort of shelter for them.
Thank you. Well done. Now, was it one story that we heard? No. There were several stories. Another thing, did you all notice that some of you all picked up the stories from where other people left off, maybe from that side or that side? Why is that? There wasn't any continuity. Or you felt comfortable with what one person said, and hence you followed from there. Because it didn't go like that. I think some of you all just started from what some person did there. Once someone fell asleep, but then the other person was reading. The next
Child
person
was being taken out of the house in the rain and brought back several times.
Several times.
They had tea, coffee, pakoras several times.
Okay, what we're trying to do is, again, you'll felt comfortable with some particular part of the story, and you'll continue from there. But the idea is to feel comfortable with anybody and anything that they say. So we're going to make this a little more difficult. They're not going to finish complete sentences. It's just words.
Attempting to force in a bonhomie, right? Which in reality, I think, see, in professional life, it's enough if you had a fairly working relationship. The kind of trust, bonhomie, backslapping, cheeriness to others comes with people you like. It's not with everybody, right? So why is that not only you, many of the human resources people try to kind of breed this very deliberately? Is there any reason for that?
In the course of the story you're saying, or generally?
In general.
The question you've raised is very serious. I don't think we are attempting, I'm not attempting to justify, we're not attempting a forced bonhomie. Each one of us should reach the level that we are comfortable with. But I think if you look at it from a professional point of view, whether we serve as a head of department or somewhere lower down on the rung, or just as a doctor or as a health professional, someone, a certain amount of basic thing which you're agreeing to is necessary. If you've had a really bad day at home and you've had a fight with your spouse and your children haven't done well in school, you can't transfer that to the persons who have come to you for certain help. So a certain amount of acting skills, it's a bad word I'm using, but a certain amount of acting skills is necessary in real life. Your bad-temperedness or you're being in a real bad situation because you have an income tax scrutiny on the same day that you're seeing somebody who's come in with a sick child with chickenpox wants their child's treatment as the most important thing. So when you're saying forced bonhomie or a forced, it's part of your professional ethic to put it on to a certain extent because it makes, it's necessary. It's a part of life. It's an important part of life because nobody is going to want to know your various moods and things, situations at that particular time. So up to a certain extent, yes, but for a comfort level, probably it's necessary, but no forced bonhomie. Anything that makes you more comfortable with the group and helps the group to gel together would be great to have. We want to do the same exercise. Okay, we'll do the same thing, but do it as quickly as possible. Don't delay for too long, but just a quick trend of thought, the train of thought that we've started earlier, but this time we'll use it as an exercise with something related to ethics, and I'm just choosing at random, and we can start from here onwards. Like a story, but we want opinions. It's not a story about somebody, but I'll just start a couple of sentences, and you give us opinion and let the opinion go on so that we'll hear, hopefully, one trend of thought. You can please differ. Human beings are allowed to differ. I think that it's very important nowadays that we realize that a person should be allowed to die with dignity. I think it's important because as I grow older, I feel that it's important for me to have some form of assuring the fact that I will die with dignity when I decide to go. This is a Catholic hospital, I'm going to get beaten up. Okay, all right.
I don't think it is right because it has, it can be misutilized for others to, for their own sole purposes.
If I were to be that person, I would prefer to die.
With so many complexities in this world, with people of all kinds of thoughts and with all kinds of works going around, I think that we have only bound ourselves into so many rules and regulations, and these rules and regulations happen to help somebody and make the other person go into some, he has to suffer. Some people feel very happy and the other person has to suffer in this trend of rules and regulations.
Considering the fact that the world now has become very self-centered and people have become very selfish, I think my wish to die with dignity is fair enough.
I think dying with dignity is important for a person because that's something that he can be well prepared to help out the people around him in whatever way that person can. And that is one of his rights that he should be given, and all the people should support him to do that.
Yeah, I think if you are at home and you just wake up early, if you are at home, you didn't wake up, you just died, I think you died with dignity.
I was told that I have just few days left, and but I have got many plans. My daughter is small. I have to make number of arrangements, but my near and dear ones are visiting me every day, and I don't know how to cope up with all these things.
I would like to have a peaceful death, but in the event of my having to undergo many medical procedures and all, I think it would be better to just let go instead of hanging on to someone. But at the same time, my physical presence, even if I am not able to do anything useful, may be of some sort of moral strength for the ones who are dependent on me in my family. So I would consider the decision to be left on my family, how far they are able to cope, because at the end of the day, based upon what all I have done, they should not say, when is this person going to go? That's it.
Yeah, I think if one is suffering from a disease, a terminal disease, one should have the right to die. But again, like Dr. Shanta Lakshmi said, that it would depend on the immediate family and people who you love and who love you very much. It would be a difficult decision.
If a choice were to be given, I think I'll fully agree with Dr. Anil, saying that I would love to die with dignity.
Yeah. Dying is not in our hands. It'll come when it'll come. So if you've done well in life, you'll certainly die with dignity as well. This is what I believe.
I agree to die with dignity. As a ripened fruit falls off from a tree. Though it falls, the fruit has its own benefit in the future.
I believe each of us is born with a destiny. We do not know how, where, and when we will die. So, but if I were to know, I would prefer to die with dignity.
I will also agree with Anil that if some situation comes like that, I would obviously like to die with dignity. But at the same time, if my opinion also stands there, why not for the others, those who want? Why to prohibit them?
I only believe that if I do good to the society and I live with my own consciousness, I'll always die with dignity.
I'm not too sure about dying with dignity. I certainly would like to live with dignity and ensure that others too are able to live with dignity.
I fully agree with Dr. Ram, whereby in a part of the world where living with dignity is not a practical option for many of us, at least dying with dignity should be an option, as it most often does not involve the economic things which are preventing us from living with dignity in many of the cases.
Given the choice, I prefer to die with dignity. Not only myself, I prefer all the human beings to die with dignity.
Yes, certainly I would like to die with dignity under certain conditions, given a set of criteria, not just like anything. For example, a young boy having departed or separated from his girlfriend will die. I won't allow that. But under certain conditions, yes, I will go for that.
I was just wondering how it feels, how it would feel to me, how I would feel at the time of death, knowing it is certain and in few moments from now. Would my conviction still hold?
Dignity with death, as I said, it looks to me as if it is coming from Subhash Ghai's film. See, dignity, glorification are two words. This is what confusing the whole world. See, death, life is an ongoing process. Life is very romantic. Death is not. Somebody says, he compares the life and death and says, I want to die with dignity. That means the whole part of the romanticism, the romanticness, that's not the romantic in that sense. The part of living is he's denying that. That's what now theories have come. We have given, the world have given Osamas, the world have given Bushes. All these people said, your life, your death will be dignified, your life will be glorified. Do this, the human bongs are coming like that. Life is to live. Death, when it comes, it will come. We will not know about it. It will take me away.
हम ज़माने के इशारों पर नहीं चलते, हम तबीयत ही ज़माने से जुदा रखते हैं. The life is ultimate, I mean, death is the ultimate part of the life. whatever the form it comes, it will be acceptable to me. I believe so. Thank you.
I feel that I do have a right to die with dignity, but I also understand that it is different from right to die.
I will accept the dignity to die is a right for a human being, but it should not be because of the economic reasons. If really that is he is suffering with the terminal illness, he is having the sufferings, he want to die, but there is a treatment available, his life can be prolonged, but still because of his financial status, he is not able to do. Then that we should not consider as a dignity of die because of the economical factors. If it is of his illness, it's okay.
I don't like to die in any case. So as Rama said, I want to live with dignity. I 100% for him and for me also. Then if I die, I want to die with dignity. But that should not cause consequences to the family members and community and society.
Since death will come anyway, I would just hope to have the courage to accept it when it comes.
Dying with dignity would be more profitable if living with dignity itself.
I don't think about dying. Because I think dignity and dying is contradictory. I want to live with dignity.
Dignity in death is a good thing, important thing, but I would continue my life whatever may be the condition.
I understand that death is inevitable. So what I do is that I keep myself prepared for that. And I learned this from a very close relative of mine. In fact, my mother-in-law only. She made elaborate preparations. She kept money. She told people that you have to do this, you have to do this. I have to be in my house. I have to be in my field. I have to be with my pets. I have to be with my cow. Like this, she told. And I saw that. After seeing that, I have made up my mind that I make myself prepared for death. And I would like to die with dignity, but we don't know. Anything can happen at any time. That's left to the God.
No one in this world wants to die. And no one knows that when we are going to die. And living with dignity is the only thing what we can do. And dying with dignity is not in our hands. Thank you.
Hi, I endorse the view that all of us have the right to both live and die with dignity. Decisions regarding both living and dying, if they're based on well-reasoned judgment, grounded in compassion, sensitive to everyone else around, I think it's a way to go ahead.
Dr. Nandini, was it different from what you expected or exactly what you expected?
I think people started thinking in a broader perspective and started taking a clearer stance to a particular issue. I could see many who were for dying with dignity. So I don't know whether in India, if something comes like that, they would be representative of the population which thinks in that term. So, for policy making, etc., this will come in handy.
Okay, then did you hear someone, I think I heard one person mention criteria. Based on certain criteria, so the things that we need to govern this with certain rules, because all these decisions which are made, all of us I think tended to take an emotional stand, as far as I am concerned, I would like to live with dignity, die with dignity. But then emotions can't rule when we come to an issue on ethics, whichever field it is, and we need to have certain criteria because there are so many different opinions even within this room, and that's why it's important that we have somebody who's sitting on this and discussing on an individual basis and seeing the merits and demerits and making a final decision.
In fact, what Tripti pointed out was about the misuse. So those safeguards have to be there when a policy is formed. You need to have regional debate where such opinions will be actually expressed, and based on that, that's how we got through our first revision of guidelines also. We had public debates in 4 regions, and based on the common expressions there, we modified our guidelines. So it would be the same thing. Before policy making, one will have to gather the comments, and also in what way we can safeguard, if at all we take the stand that patients can die with dignity.
This right or wrong thing it's a little difficult to be absolutely vehement about.
Actually, you're very right. When you listen first, you get swayed by the...
Whichever person is in front of you and their point of view.
And you form an opinion. Then after some time, maybe 2 days or in the coming week, you listen to the other side. And then you think, yeah, that person also has got a point. So initially what you said gets modified.
I'm taking that from the theatre and film background also, because I often read, the paper I read is Times of India. I read the review on Saturday and decide which movie I'm going to go to see. But very often, in spite of a really bad review, sometimes when I've gone to see a play or a movie, I found that it's quite okay, and I wondered why that reviewer was so vicious about that particular movie. So often, very often, we have to make the decision for ourselves, because we have to actually experience it ourselves to decide whether something is good or bad, and it's probably not a healthy option to depend on somebody else's opinion all the time.
I wanted to say something that I've got from this session vis-a-vis the first session where we had to tell a continuous story. I noticed that in the first time I had to listen so much to what my neighbor has said for me to be able to put in input. Whereas for the second one, it was more of my opinion, so it's more of my thinking. I don't really need so much to listen to the other person. And what I noticed that in many cases, in our everyday life, we encounter such situations. There are times when you need to listen to the other party, but there are also times when you act out of your own self. Then when you realize that everybody is saying something, they will be saying it according to either what they believe, maybe because of their culture, because of religion, because of profession. But in general terms, when you're coming out with things like policy, you need to incorporate everything. So it's necessary to listen also to the other side and then judge to come out with a balanced, something that is more balanced. That's one thing that I noticed, that I already had an answer even when she was starting. I had my own opinion. Whereas the first time I didn't have any idea. I had to listen to what the person before me is saying so that I keep the continuity to see that that story has meaning.
Just something that I noticed what Anil and Dr. Nandini were saying. You said depending on the people who sit in front of you and ask you for a decision, you react straight away. So does it mean that sometimes you'll act out of emotions and not think about the ethics and rules, or is it a mixture of both?
I think what you're mixing up is what we would do as an individual in life. So even in an ethical issue, when you're given a certain judgmental kind of position, you need to be careful to consult rules and make a more balanced decision when you make a decision, and not go only by emotions.
In fact, when I said about emotion, it didn't mean that I'll act on that emotion if I am in a responsible position as Ramesh. And for bioethics, we have frameworks. So within that framework, I'll start thinking about it. But initially, I'll be in favor of this person if I feel that person has been offended. But when I see the second side of things, then I'll try to fit it within that framework and work out. And as a bioethicist, you never decide for the other party. You bring both parties and you actually explain to each party and explain the good side and the bad side and let them decide.
I think Ashwin has a question because he's a non-medical person and not in the field. So I think it's good to get feedback from people like that. He wants to know, are ethics open to interpretation? Should we keep debate open? Because very important.
Definitely.
I remember when I was a medical student, our ethics classes used to be one way. Somebody used to come and say, this is good, this is bad, this is what you have to do. And not encourage debate at all. I don't think that practice is followed at all.
It's always a debate. Always a debate, because there are always two philosophies working. One thinks of greatest good for the greatest number. The other one thinks we are not bothered about the consequences. When you are doing a thing, if it is right, do it. Don't think of the consequences. The other group thinks of the consequences.
And the more angry, vehement debate that we have, the better and healthier it is, because within realms, as long as we're not beating each other. So I would like to take a stand and say, sir, if the doors are closed for that lady, then it's time we open the doors. We should work as a society to open the door rather than to send her to what we are calling a convenient death, because it's convenient for us to eliminate at that particular period of time. I think the discussion is going to go into social issues. So can we, with your permission, close it there?